Hey, my name is Jimmy Fung. Welcome to today's video. In today's video, this is day 5 of the 5 days to $10,000 challenge. And if you're watching this video and you have zero idea what I just said, you're hearing about this challenge for the first time. Basically, as a high-level summary, I put together a series of 5 videos. Basically, a challenge where I help people go from $0 to $10,000 per month with their own lead generation agencies in the next 90 days. And today is day 5, where we will be talking about client onboarding and how to actually get your clients good results. And if you stick to the end, I will give you a gift, right? Because if you watch through day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and finally this video, day 5, then you are super committed. I also want you to drop a comment below if you watched through the other 4 days. If you haven't, I strongly suggest you go and watch those because I give actionable steps and I give them out in a sequence for a good reason, right? Because I want you to make money the quickest way possible. And there's a very specific step-by-step process in order to do so. So today is day 5. Again, stick to the end where I will be offering you a really good gift for sticking through this entire series, and hope you like this, hope you subscribe, and hope I'll see you in the next video. See ya. Bye-bye. Welcome to day 5 of the 5-day challenge, the 5th and final day of the 5-day challenge to making $10,000 a month. In the previous 4 days of the challenge, in the previous 4 videos, we ran over everything that you need to know, and up to this point, you should be taking action and you should have a lot of your backend infrastructure just built out. And for today, for the 5th and final day, what we'll be talking about is client onboarding and how to deliver service, right? Service delivery, and how to ensure that your business, your lead generation agency is profitable long-term, and that will allow you to scale well past $10,000 a month the same way I have been able to do for myself. So jumping right into strong client onboarding and all of that onboarding experience. So it's awesome because at this point, well, I mean, if you're following this challenge, you probably don't have a client right now, strictly because that 14-day period of warming up all your emails. But you would probably still want to understand how to build out your client onboarding and provide a strong experience, because at this point where this is most relevant is probably after you sign your first client, where you've made a few dollars, you have cash in the bank. But what's the next steps? And that's the exact same question that your new clients are asking themselves, because the client onboarding process is really kind of just that middle ground between you signing your clients and delivering the service that they just paid you thousands of dollars for. And the entire reason why you need to have a robust onboarding process is because it kind of just sets the tone for the rest of the client engagement. And as the saying goes, first impressions last. Because if your onboarding process is just really sloppy, if it's a mess, then your clients will then also assume that your service is sloppy and that it's also a mess. And the client onboarding process, again, right, is kind of the middle ground between you signing your clients and actually delivering the service. And because of that process, where it does take 14 days, where you're setting up the infrastructure, you're warming up all these email accounts, you're not actually delivering any results for your clients in that 14 days. So which is why having a good onboarding process and just setting off on the right foot is super, super important, right? So your number one goal of the client onboarding process is to be clear and direct on your next steps. You want to give clarity because your clients are probably really confused. They might have some form of buyer's remorse. They might not be entirely sure what they just paid thousands of dollars for. And you want to give clarity. You need to be that light in the dark and kind of just guide them along the right path forward and what your next steps would be. Your number one goal, again, is to be clear and have direct steps on next steps. You want to communicate how everything works as a process for your business. You also, inside the client onboarding process, you also want to be gathering as much information on your clients as possible. You need to understand your client's business so that you can use that information that you collect and create effective cold emails, create an effective VSL, craft the effective offer for your client's behalf. And again, right, the number one goal of your client is just understanding how everything works and believing that you can deliver the results that they paid for. That's really all it is. And the reason why I'm saying this is because there's a lot of people online, a lot of these gurus online trying to sell you the course, and they tell you that you need to have all these fancy things built out for your client onboarding process, when That's simply just not true. I've seen people, and I've been through courses and programs where people would literally design all of these fancy funnels and click funnels and go high level, create all of these fancy decks purely for the purposes of client onboarding. And while I think it is better to have well-polished materials, to have presentable branding and all of that stuff, I'm here to tell you that in my own experience, after working with over 50 plus clients now, it's not necessary. Because all clients really want to know for sure is that you can get them the results that they paid for. They're not paying for a fancy funnel. They're not paying for a fancy onboarding deck. They're paying for clarity and a guarantee that you could get them the results that they paid for, which in this case is generating them sales opportunities and sales costs. So the best thing you can do is to set up an onboarding form. And you could do this on a Google Forms, where essentially you're just putting out a couple questions to understand your client business. And on this Google Forms, you're just collecting regular information about your client's business. You're understanding their business, what they sell, all of those things. You can set that up yourself. It'll take you 30 to 40 minutes. And after you set up the Google Forms to understand your business, so the best way to think about this is think about as you are going through your process of setting up your own business, your own lead generation agency. What types of information do you need in order to craft your cold email campaigns? What kinds of information do you need in order to scrape your leads off of Apollo or off of LinkedIn? What type of information do you need to craft your VSL? And that's the exact type of information that you will want to get for your clients, because one of the best parts about building a lead generation agency is the process that you're using for yourself, the lead scraping, the cold email campaigns, the VSL, all of that stuff that you're building for your own lead generation agency. You're also doing a similar process for your clients. And it's pretty easy for yourself because all your information is in here and you don't really have to ask someone else to get those answers. But for your clients, it might be a different story. You might not clearly understand what they do. You might not understand their case studies. You might not understand the process to actually get results. So it's very important that you create a Google Forms, an onboarding process where you go into excruciating detail and understand exactly what your client's business is, what they sell, and who they sell to. So that's how you would understand the business and get and collect all the information that you need for the onboarding process. So the next thing you want to do is set up an onboarding call for your clients, or with your clients actually, right? And what I decided to do over here is I put out my agenda for the onboarding call that I actually use at my own lead generation agency. And it's very, very simple. Again, this is just a regular conversation between two people, between your prospects, or I guess your clients now, between your clients and yourself. And your entire goal of the onboarding call is to set clear expectations, to understand their business, and to provide clarity on the next steps for working with your own lead generation agency. So here's the agenda. The very first thing you want to do is obviously meet the team. You will find that sometimes, even though you sold directly to the founder, to the CEO, to the owner of a company, sometimes you'll be working with someone else at your client's business, whether that is a head of sales, a VP sales, a head of business development, a head of marketing, whoever that might be. I've had experiences where I sold directly to the founder and I ended up working with the head of sales. So it is at this point of the onboarding process where usually your clients will bring in other personnel, other team members if there are. So you'll be meeting the team. Again, you'll be reintroducing yourself to the new team members if you've never met them before. You want to run them very quickly through your business, maybe the history of your business and what you do, the overall results. After that, you just want to jump right into it. You want to summarize some of the information that you collect on the Google Forms from the onboarding process. You want to, again, understand their offer. You want to understand the desired end result of the product or their service. You want to understand the pricing structure and how they get paid. These are all very important things that you absolutely need to know in order to deliver a great result for your clients. You need to understand who do they sell to. So the type of industries that they sell to, the geographical areas that they sell to, any specific countries, do they only sell to Canada, US, UK, what other countries or continents do they sell to? You want to understand the type of company sizes that they sell to. Do they sell to startups, enterprise companies, small companies, what does that look like? Generally speaking, enterprise clients, enterprise companies are companies that I found have over 1,000 employees. These are the largest companies you will ever find. The VMwares, the Stripes, the Googles, the Apples, the IBMs. Those are enterprise level companies. And usually a lot of smaller companies, so SaaS companies, are usually below 100, usually below 50. Sorry, startup companies, not SaaS companies. There's much smaller, and they're usually between 50 and 100 or below. You also want to understand who the decision makers are for your clients. So depending on what your clients sell, let's say they sell ads as a service. More likely than not, the decision maker might be a CMO at a relatively large company. It could be the founder if it's a small company. If your client is selling recruitment services, who are those decision makers? Is it the head of recruitment, the chief of HR, a direct hiring manager? Who are those people? You want to understand that from your client because your client has been in business for much, much longer and they just understand it. It's their job to understand these things. And you want to complement your own knowledge and your own skill set with what your client already knows. So you want to be asking these things to clarify with your client. After that, you want to define expectations and define what success looks like. So based on what you guys talked about on the sales call, whether you sold it to the founder or someone else, you want to bring that up again. You want to explain in very clear detail how communication will work. At my own agency, I set up a Slack, and on that Slack, I add in my clients, and as my clients, they have questions, they ask me on that Slack. As me and my team, we're going through the process of building out the infrastructure, we're sending the emails, we're updating them on the process, on the progress that we're making, and we're doing that entirely on Slack. I know people who do it on Discord, I know people who do it on WhatsApp. All of them work. I just personally use Slack for my own client communication. You also want to outline specifically payment structures and what qualifies as a qualified sales call. Because if you're selling your lead generation services on performance, it's definitely a bit of a gray area because what I might consider to be a qualified call might not be the same as what my client considers a qualified call. And more importantly, since I'm only responsible for generating them these sales calls, I'm not actually jumping onto these Zoom conversations or these Google Meet calls, and I don't actually know if people no-show, if they're qualified or not. So what I like to do is I tell my clients to record all of the sales calls. Most of my clients are using Zoom. There's a feature on Google Meets too, which allows you to record their sales calls or these conversations. Ask your clients and tell your clients, actually, don't even ask them, tell your clients to record the sales calls and tell them, what I tell them is if you don't record a sales call, then I will just assume that these leads, they showed up and they were highly qualified. Because if they don't show up or they no show, which is pretty common, or they're just not qualified, if they are recorded, then it'll be very easy for us to figure out that they're just not qualified. So that's typically what I say. You also want to understand what do they have set up, because maybe they have, let's say, a Calendly. If they have a Calendly, you don't have to create one for them. If they don't have one, you obviously need to create one so that you're able to set up these calls. Maybe they tried other cold email services or other lead generation agencies before, and they have spare domains just lying around. Maybe they have extra email accounts lying around that you could use. Maybe they have a Smart Lead account, an Instantly account. Who knows? You want to understand what they have set up and complement that as part of the process. So that's basically what you want to do for the onboarding call. Now, in terms of the service delivery, now one of the best aspects about building a lead generation agency is its simplicity. Because again, the same way that you get clients for yourself is a similar process that you will then use to deliver results for your clients as well. And that's exactly why I believe that this business model, a lead generation agency, is one of the easiest business models for complete beginners. Because a lot of other business models, let's say you're building an advertising agency, a marketing agency, you're doing copywriting, you need to learn a bunch of these different skills all at once. And for a lead generation agency, you really only need to learn a couple of key skills, mainly generating leads, how to do cold emails, how to sell. And once you're good and you understand how to do that, you're then selling that exact same skill set for your clients to help them get results. But I went on a little bit of a tangent, but here is what the service delivery looks like from a high level overview. All right, so I jumped back into the flow chart to run over the service delivery flow. But before we even jump into it, using this exact same process that I'm about to share with you, here are just 2 client reviews or client testimonials that I was able to find while building this out. On the left is a guy called Ryan, where we helped him collect $30,000 in a single day from using this exact process. On the right is another client that I think I talked about earlier. I think it was on day 3, where we were able to help him get a client call with VMware and Interlink Mortgage, and he was able to close both of them and make a lot of money. This is a recruitment agency, right? So this process works, and it works extremely well. But jumping right into the service delivery flow, obviously, when you first sign a client, you're going to send them the onboarding form, which we just talked about. You're going to set up the onboarding call, and on the onboarding call, you're collecting data from the client, these 6 points, which we also just talked about. After that, you want to understand, is the client already doing cold emails? Yes or no? Because some of them are, a lot of them are not. Let's assume that they're not. If they are not doing anything with cold emails, what you want to do is you want to build out the cold email infrastructure for them, head to toe, right? Because if they do have stuff, then you want to understand how is that working. And if it's not working that well, then obviously you're going to be doing it for yourself, or you're going to be taking some of the stuff that they're currently doing and adding your own existing infrastructure on top. But most clients, I'd say 80 to 90% of clients, they probably are not doing anything with cold emails, and they're just kind of fresh, where you just need to get new domains, new email accounts on their behalf. So as a result, your main idea, your overall goal is going to be building out the cold email infrastructure for them. And obviously what that means, this is a pretty similar process that you walk through yourself in your own lead generation agency, is you're going to be, number one, buying the domains and the email accounts, and then you're going to be warming them up for, let's say, 14 days on smartlead.ai or instantly.ai. After that, you want to be helping them identify the target audience, because again, I've worked with a bunch of clients who, when I ask them, who do you sell your service to? They'll always tell me, so Jimmy, we sell our services to this industry, that industry, all 10 of these different industries. But the one thing you want to understand and explain to your clients that yes, even though you could technically sell your specific service to 100 different industries, for the purposes of what we're doing with cold emails, that's simply not possible. It's not feasible. We want to start with one industry. We want to pick one industry, scrape the leads list for that, and write targeted, hyper-targeted email copy for that. And a lot of clients, when I explain it like that, they completely understand. And the best thing you can do, if they are kind of bouncing between a couple of different industries, they just don't really know which one they want to start with, ask them about their case studies. Ask them about, so John, I'm curious to hear about any specific clients that you've gotten really great results for. What type of industries are they? What do you sell them? Start with that specific industry that they got the case study from, and that's how you identify the target audience. You'd obviously scrape the leads list off of Apollo or LinkedIn or any other leads database software, and then you will want to verify and clean your leads list. After that, you want to help them craft an irresistible offer and help them create their sales positioning, right? Based on what we talked about in day 3, which is crafting an offer, you're using a similar process for your clients. And an effective way to think about this is ask yourself, why would a company want to work with your clients? So for example, if your client is a recruitment agency, it's not enough to just think about it and say, oh yeah, these companies, they want to work with a recruitment agency because they want better candidates. They want faster candidates. That's not a good answer, because everyone says the exact same thing. Or another example would be ads agencies. If your client runs Facebook ads for e-commerce brands, it's not enough for the answer to be like, oh yeah, these e-commerce brands want to work with us because we will help them run their ads and we'll help them make more money. That's not a good answer. There's a very specific reason why these companies would either work with a recruitment agency or pay to work with an advertising agency. Is it because they're saving time? If so, how much time? Is it because they don't want to do it themselves? Why is that? Is there something specific about it that is just really hard to do? Or does the process just suck? What is the specific issues that they're facing that is preventing them from paying and working with your clients, right? Those are key things that you want to understand, and you need to dive into detail. And that's how you create an irresistible offer for not even just yourself, but for your clients as well, and come up with an effective sales positioning. After you come up with an irresistible offer and create the sales positioning, you're crafting the initial cold email copy. You're creating the campaigns based on the sales positionings and the offers that we just created. And with that also, you're also putting together the inbox management frameworks. These are kind of just templates that you would be using when you're sending these emails and people obviously reply back to you. You're gonna need some form of template, because you obviously don't want to just be spending your time replying back to people in a custom way every single time. It just doesn't make sense. After that, you want to create the VSL script, because a lot of the times you would want to create this for your clients. And a common question I get is, do you film it or do your clients film it? The answer is your clients film it, but you would build it out. So if you're building a VSL, whether that's on Google Docs, Google Slides, you're using Notion, you're using Gamma, you're using whatever tools you want to use, that is the presentation itself. But your clients would obviously film the VSL because it's their business. They would understand the business better. They'll be able to talk about it way better. So you would be asking your clients to film it, but obviously you'd be scripting it for them. And obviously in the scenarios where your client just doesn't want to do it, or for a lack of better words, not to be disrespectful, but they just kind of suck on camera, you would take that presentation that you put together for them, that you scripted for them, turn it into a PDF and leverage that as a sales asset, an alternative sales asset, a doc, a PDF, a white paper, as opposed to a video sales letter. So that's what you want to do. After that, this process, it takes 7 to 14 days. The main part about this that takes a lot of time is warming up the email accounts, because obviously that does take 14 days. So this process, as a result, it does take 14 days. After you're done, you want to review all of these things that you put together, the scripts, the leads list, the VSL. You want to run them through with their clients and essentially get their approval, because it's their business, and maybe for whatever reasons, you slipped up a little bit and the stuff that you wrote for the cold email campaigns, the angles you wrote, it just doesn't really align with your client's business. So you always want to review these sales assets with your clients prior to launching the cold email campaign. Let's assume that your client approves it. If they say no, obviously you're going to go back and make it better. But let's assume that the client approves it. Then you're going to launch the campaign after warming. And these are, again, right, kind of the KPIs that you want to target. Are they getting at least 60% open rates? If they're not, that's a deliverability issue. Are they getting at least 7% reply rates? If they're not, then that means your cold email copy, you need to do some work, come up with some new angles, a new sales positioning, or the leads list is kind of just wrong, or it's just not the best. Are they booking meetings? If they're not, it's your sales asset that needs some work, whether that's the VSL, the doc, the white paper. It's just not compelling enough, or it doesn't build enough trust with cold prospects for your clients. Obviously, after that, the booking meetings is the show up rate at least 70 to 75%. The industry average rate is 70%. So are they getting at least that? If they're not, then what you want to do is add or change the pre-call automations that we talked about in day 4, similar to what you did for yourself, whether that's on Calendly or Go High Level or Acuity Scheduling. You want to add those pre-call automations and perhaps add a pre-call VSL to talk about next steps. And then after that is more so the actual sales process. For a lot of my clients, I like to consult them alongside their sales process, even though I don't get paid for that, because I understand that the better my clients do, the better I do, the more money I make. If they make more money, I make more money, which is why I kind of provide free sales consulting for my clients, which is obviously if they're not closing at least 20% of their sales calls, which again is industry average, as we discussed in day 3 of the challenge, then there's some work that they need to do, right? Whether that is analyzing the call objections and tweaking the VSL, adding some of those objections into the VSL, or whether that is tweaking the qualification process to get more qualified meetings for our clients, or even just running some mock sales calls and training up the clients. Just be careful here, because depending on the type of clients you're working with, sometimes they don't necessarily want to get their sales calls reviewed by you or by the lead generation agency, especially if they've been in business for a lot longer. That's kind of the experience that I have found, but that's definitely a service that I offer for my clients. So this is kind of the overall high level overview of the service delivery flow and the sequence of steps that I undertake at my own lead generation agency as I sign a client and walk them through each of the steps and each of the specific things that I do to get my clients results. So based on this, hopefully you see how simple it is to get your clients results. It's not easy, but it's simple. And the reason why is because a lot of these things that you're doing, you've already done it for yourself, for your own lead generation agency. And by the time you reach this part, this section where you're implementing these exact same things for your clients, you kind of already have proof of concept because you have a client, you generated sales calls, you closed deals, you have a paying client because they all went through this entire process. You emailed them, they read through the email, you sent them the VSL, they watched through your VSL, you jumped on these sales calls, you closed them. There's proof of concept that what you're doing works. And obviously, until you sign a client, you don't really have proof of concept that what you're doing works. But once you get a client, the second you get a client, then it just clearly works. And you're implementing that exact same process for your clients as well. So jumping back into the doc, now that we went into the overall strategy and the sequences at which you'll be delivering the service for your clients, understand that aside from strictly delivering the service that your clients paid for, which in this case is sales calls and sales opportunities, what I've personally learned in my own experience is that there's a bunch of different nuances that create a strong client experience. People are willing to pay you and to work with you, not necessarily strictly because you will get them results. That's kind of a given. But people will also pay you to work with you because you give a strong client experience. So as an example, I know for myself, I'm a man, I get a lot of haircuts. I probably get a haircut maybe every 2 or 3 weeks. The reason that I go to my barber and pay him the money that I do is not necessarily because of just the haircut itself. That's a given, right? If I go and pay him $50 and the haircut is complete garbage, I'm asking for a fade and it looks just really bad and there's lines everywhere, well, obviously I'm gonna leave and find a better barber. But the reason why I'm paying him $50 for a haircut is also because I'm building up a relationship with him. I just like his vibes. I like the conversations that we have. It's not awkward, it's all of these things. And that is an aspect that is a moat. That's a part of his business, the hairdresser's business, that is a moat that other people can't copy, because other people can give quality haircuts just as well, give good fades, but not every single hair barber or hairdresser I'm able to build a strong relationship with. So that's his moat. And think about that in the same way for your own agency. There's a lot of other people who could probably provide your clients with equally as good of results. They can all generate qualified sales calls if they all wanted to. But the thing that will stop your clients from working with someone else and working with you is if you build a strong client relationship with them. You communicate, you have strong communication, all of that stuff, right? So you need to make sure that you have strong communication for your clients. And for example, you need to be making sure that you're responding back to their messages, not days later, because that's simply unacceptable. Inside my own business, I worked with many different agencies as well, like not lead gen agencies, but I've worked with ads agency. I've worked with a bunch of these different agencies. And I could confidently say that the biggest thing that prevents me as a buyer from paying $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month to an agency is poor communication. Because the worst thing that could happen is I have a question, I message the founder, whether that's on Slack, on WhatsApp, on Instagram, anything like that, by email, and it takes them 3 days to get back to me. That's simply unacceptable. And you need to make sure that your client communication is spot on. You also want to be making sure that you're giving them consistent updates on your progress, because that's one of the things I realized as well, is because you're managing the system completely done for you for your clients, meaning you're doing everything and your client doesn't really have to lift a finger. It's very easy for them to get really curious as to what you're actually doing, because you know that you're doing the work. You're going and you're setting up these email accounts, you're writing these cold email scripts, you're scripting the VSL, you're doing all of these things, and it takes a lot of time. But your client doesn't know that. And if you're not telling your client that you're doing all of these things, then they obviously wouldn't know. And it's easy for them to think, oh, is this guy Jimmy did he just scam me, take $3,000 and he flew to Hawaii and he's chilling on a beach sipping a pina colada, right? It's very easy for them to get into that line of thought. So what you want to be doing is as you are building everything out, you're making changes on the campaign, you're testing something new, you're making even a slight adjustment, just shoot over your client a quick message and be like, hey John, just adjusted the campaign. Hey John, we're testing variation B. Hey John, we're scraping you new leads list, doing all of these things. That way your client knows that as they're paying you, you're actually doing stuff and you're not just sitting back at the beach doing absolutely nothing. So that's basically day 5. And as an action step, there's really only 2 action steps that you need to do in this day, at this video. The first one is set up your onboarding form, which is a Google Forms. That will probably take you 30 minutes to an hour. And the second thing is plan and build your onboarding call agenda. I think the thing about this module, that this video, that today's day 5 of the challenge, is it's really hard to build out these things and have it built out well until you actually have a client. And I personally think it is a poor use of your time to be spending even a day, even 2-3 hours building out these things until you have a client. And it's one of the largest mistakes I see people make is they go out and they spend 2 days building out the onboarding process before they even have a client. And I understand that the reason they're doing that is because they want to feel prepared. They want to be prepared for when they actually have a client. But the issue with that is they're spending all of the time which they probably could be using to do more important things. They're using that time to do stuff that doesn't drive immediate results, that doesn't give a ROI right away. So what I would personally do, to be honest, is I would plan out the onboarding form, I'll plan out the onboarding aspect of your business, but I probably wouldn't even build it out completely. I would just open up a Google Docs or open up a Notion, take some notes of what you've learned today in this video, plan out what you want to talk about, but I wouldn't build it out in detail. So that's basically day 5, which is the onboarding and service delivery. Now, if you made it to this part of the video, if you watched through the first 4 days, today's day 5, you watched through all of these days of the challenge and you're actually taking steps, I want to ask you something. Before we move forward with the next steps, I want to ask you a few simple questions. Would you say that our time over the last 5 days, over the last 5 videos, would you say that was enjoyable for you? Have you also found it to be valuable and a good use of your time, right? Or do you just think it was a massive waste of your time? If you thought it was a massive waste of your time, drop it in the comment section and just let me know. Hey, Jimmy, you just wasted 5 hours of my life, whatever that is. Do you feel more comfortable with your ability to make $10,000 a month in the next 90 days by building your own lead generation agency? Do you feel like I have instilled more confidence in you and you feel like you have a little bit more clarity as to what you actually need to do in order to get started and make money and sign your first client? Is it also fair to say that using these insights, it is kind of unreasonable for you not to have a significant advantage over your competitors? Do you feel that way or not really? And the reason I ask you these questions is because I have complete confidence that you could take everything that we covered here over the last 5 days, over the last 5 videos, and on your own, you could go out and put it into action and you can get results that you previously thought was just simply not possible, right? And I'm certain that with just the information that we covered today, left on your own with your own resources, with your own time, with your own effort, you can make a go at this in a way that most people will simply never be able to do. And that's a completely viable option, taking everything that you learned and just going out on your own. That's the purpose of me creating this 5-day challenge. You have all the information that you need to succeed. But what if there was another option? An option that would make your success with this business model simply inevitable, making it unreasonable for you not to hit $10,000 a month in the next 90 days. Well, if you're interested in hearing about how to make sure you're able to build your own lead generation agency and get it to $10,000 a month in the next 90 days, then here is what I have for you. It's something called the inboxlab.io program. And here's the truth. There is enough information here, enough information that exists online, on YouTube, on Google, enough information to allow you to succeed with your own lead generation agency. But there's a reason why 95% of people who are watching this video, who is registered for this challenge, who just watches any YouTube video about building a lead generation agency, there's a reason why 95% of those people will never even get to the point where they sign the first paying client. There's a legitimate reason. Why is that? It's because of what I call the failure cycle. So here is the failure cycle. I kind of just illustrated here. And really what it is you go through a resource. So probably every single person or the majority of you guys watching this video right now or reading through this guide, you're over here, you're going through this resource and you're going to start taking action. And as you start taking action, you're probably going to have some random questions or some random problems that just kind of pops up. But because you're doing it on your own, you're not really going to have a resource that could get that answered. No one's there to answer your questions or to solve your problems for you. You're just gonna need to figure that out on your own. So what happens is because you have no one to answer this for you, you're just gonna get kind of just stuck. You're gonna feel super frustrated, and it really just increases the likelihood that you just give up altogether. That's what I like to call the failure cycle. And this is why 95% of courses, they just don't work because there's no support there. And it's just a course where people create, 30 hours worth of videos explaining some random stuff and expect you to go out on your own to figure it out by yourself. That is why most courses just don't work. And that's why a lot of courses are kind of just scams. And not even courses, just YouTube videos in general, because there's no accountability there. There's no support system. That's what I call the failure cycle. Oftentimes, information alone is not enough to guarantee success. All the information exists online for me to learn how to cook the best burger in the world, to cook the best pasta in the world. But how come the burgers and the pasta that I cook, that I make, they're just not that good, right? Why do they kind of taste pretty bad, I'd say, right? And the reason why is because the information is just the what, but I'm missing the how. I know what to do to cook a good burger. I just don't know how to cook a good burger. You see how there's a bit of a difference? And as you're going through this process of building your own lead generation agency, while you have all the information you need, you have the what, you're likely going to get stuck on at least one of the followings, 100%, because I got stuck on some of these things myself. You're probably gonna get stuck on setting up your email infrastructure the right way to maximize deliverability. You might run into error codes. You might think you are warming up your email accounts for 14 days, and once you launch your campaigns, all of your email accounts bounce. That's a very common problem that people have because they're not setting up the email accounts the right way. Maybe you're gonna struggle with picking a good niche to sell to. You're gonna pick an industry and it's just not going to resonate because it's just not that good of an industry. Maybe you struggle with putting together a relevant leads list. A lot of people struggle with that, right? Maybe you struggle with crafting an offer that business owners actually want, because just because you think that people want what you have does not necessarily mean that it is conveyed that exact same way and people will actually want it. Maybe you struggle with crafting an effective cold email that actually generates interest. Maybe you just send a bunch of cold emails and you're not gonna get replies at all. Maybe you're gonna struggle with putting together a VSL, which converts interest into tangible booked meetings. A lot of people struggle with that actually, right? Maybe you struggle with taking sales calls where you actually convert prospects into tangible cash, into money. Or maybe you have clients, but you struggle with delivering the service and ensuring that you are profitable long term, right? And again, right, all of these things, I was able to come up with this list because these are all problems that I personally struggled with as I was going through the process myself. And although you could probably figure out how to solve each and every one of these problems on your own, it's just gonna take you a lot of time, right? And one of the things I learned is in life or in business, you're either paying with time or you're paying with money. And if you're paying with time, it can mean that it might take you 6 months, 12 months, maybe more than a year until you sign your very first client and make your first dollar online from your own lead generation agency and from this business model, assuming you stick to it and you don't end up quitting first. So here's my offer to you. My offer to you, and it's kind of a gift for all of those who have stuck through this entire series, this entire challenge, and watched through this entire thing. I will work with you to build your own lead generation agency. I'll help you start it and get it to $10,000 per month in the next 90 days. What I'll also do is I will personally consult with you to help you pick your niche. I will help you craft your offer. I will write your initial cold email scripts. I will review your sales calls and I'll walk you through everything A to Z involving solving this business. Any problems, any challenge, any questions you might have, I have probably walked through most of them, probably like 95% of them myself. And this is for you, this offer is for you if you aren't interested in spending the next 6 months trying to figure everything out by yourself. And what you're looking for is you want a way to accelerate that journey and get to $10,000 per month in the next 3 months. This is who that is for. You will also have access to a community of other people who are also going about their journeys and building their own lead generation agencies. So other people who are winning, other people who are making money, building their own lead generation agency, you will be able to see that and it will inspire a level of confidence in yourself that this is possible as you are going through the process, right? And obviously, I'm not just saying this, just talking out of my ass. just making this stuff up. I have worked with over 80 plus people now over the last 6 months, getting them great results. And you can check out over here with this link what some of these people are saying. These are just some of the clients, their own experiences working with me. I also have, this doc for a case study. We went over that in day one. All the people who are just making money, right? There's a lot of people over here making money. Tons and tons of people using everything that I shared with you today to make money, right? Because this just works. And these are pretty recent too. If you look at some of these dates, right? March, April, I think this was in December for Michael, for Brian, March. These are all very recent results. So I'm not showing you results. I'm not telling you strategies that worked like 2 years ago and doesn't really work now. We're talking about strategies that work right now in 2024. If you're curious, I also have several client interviews on my own YouTube channel of just people, just regular everyday people who have no prior business experience, who started their own lead generation agency, worked with me, and got really good results, right? These are just 3 examples, right? You could go check them out on your own. So again, right, how it works. How does all of this works? So I have gone through this entire process myself, so I know it works. I went through my own business. I started my own lead generation agency in October 2022. In December 2022, so like 2 months later, 60-ish days later, I was at 10K per month. The following month, I was at 20K per month. By the end of 2023, so around a year after I started my business, I was making $50,000 per month. So I've been through that entire process of going from zero to $50,000 per month with my own lead generation agency. I have helped 80 plus people build out their own agencies and land their first clients. So I guarantee you that this works, and everything that I share with you works, and it works extremely well. So if we work together, right? And you take action, and you're actually committed to the process of building your own lead generation agency, you're committed to the process of building your own business and getting to $10,000 per month in the next 90 days. And if you do everything I tell you to do, and you don't sign your first client in the next 90 days, then I will refund you in full because it's clearly not working for you. But obviously, this guarantee only applies for people who actually take action, right? Because I guarantee you that the stuff that I'll tell you to do, it will work. But obviously, if I tell you to send cold emails and you don't send cold emails, then obviously it's not gonna work. So if you want to work with me, I have attached my calendar in the description below. Please use that and set up a time to chat where I'll figure out if we can actually help you or not. And the truth is, I can't help everyone. Not everyone that we talk to is a good fit. That's just the truth. You can also follow me on Instagram. My handle is JimmyFung_. And if you do have any questions, you can DM me there as well. So if you want my help with building your own lead generation agency and building it to $10,000 per month, then let's set up a time, let's chat, and let's see how I can help you. But that's pretty much what I wanted to share today in this video. This is the end of the series. Hope you found all 5 days of this challenge extremely valuable. Hope it gives you a lot more clarity as to what you need to do. And I'll see you on the next video. See ya. Bye-bye.